This is the Power Producers Podcast, where we are refining and redefining the sales game.
Rule number one is you have to believe in yourself. You're the only one who doesn't think you belong in this appointment. The prospect has already validated your existence by scheduling time with you. Get it through your head you belong here, go in there, crush it, and close the deal.
A place where sales professionals can come to learn from other sales professionals and thought leaders that have mastered their craft.
The difference between a good salesperson and a best-in-class salesperson is only 2 minutes. By spending an extra 2 minutes on what you might think is a mundane task in the sales game, you separate yourselves from the pack, you grow your book of business, you close more deals, and you retain your accounts.
As well as their peers who are still striving for perfection to achieve their why.
I have a wife and 4 kids. Failure is not an option.
Real sales professionals, real stories, real results. Are you ready to feel the power?
Hey everybody, welcome to the Power Producers Podcast, where we are refining and redefining the sales game. I am beardless today, not because I shaved, but because Kyle is tied up with something else, so I am flying solo with the one and only Carrie Cheeks from Risk Innovations. What's up, Carrie?
Hey, I am glad to be here.
I'm going to need a lot more energy than that. So let's go ahead and get to... Listen, I've seen on Instagram or Facebook or wherever it was, I've seen the pregame of you going out pre-basketball, dapping everybody up like you're ready to go out and slay it. And that's what I get? Come on now.
Okay, I am ready to speak work comp, talk about hard-to-place work comp, and enlighten you all with all the goodness that Risk Innovations has to offer.
There you go. I feel like you're already on island time, actually. I mean, we're 2 days removed, and actually my podcast right before this one was with John Mason from Shenango Brokers, and he's going to be in Key West too. So I think everybody's kind of on that glide path, and I still have a full-day boot camp tomorrow that I have to get through that's keeping me, that's in between me and Key West. So it's funny.
It's a reward.
It is. It's funny because we usually do like Friday, Saturday, Sunday night. We don't normally go Thursday because like one day, maybe once a year we'll do it. And I always forget that the Thursday flight out of Tampa is at 10:30 and not 8:15. So I booked a room at the airport Marriott the night before, which is what we always do because we just want to be lazy and walk down and go through security and get on the plane. Now we're going to the airport Marriott the night before, and we're going to get up and like wait 3 hours before we could go down there. And Annie asked me if I wanted to cancel it, and I said, absolutely not. Once Wednesday hits and we have the ability to go, so we're going to have a nice dinner at Ocean Prime Wednesday night and just set the table for the rest of the weekend, which is going to be a really good time.
Yeah, that's awesome. My flight's at 8 o'clock, so I've got to make sure I'm up and ready.
Well, you do have direct, though. You're leaving from Atlanta, right?
Correct, yes.
Okay, well, that's good for you then. It's better than not, than having to change planes and everything. And it's probably a pretty easy flight. So, anyhow, talk about Risk Innovations for a second. Or, more importantly, now people want to know, like, were you in the WNBA or anything like that? Because I hyped all of that up. So, you're young. I mean, is this your first job out of college?
Yeah, this is. I just celebrated my 4-year anniversary at Risk Innovations. So I was a public relations major in college. I played basketball at Lee University. It's a Division II school in Tennessee. And came out of college, and I don't know how they roped me into working a small business desk for a couple of years, but there I was. And they gave me the opportunity to move into marketing in March of 2020. So I got to be out and about for a week and then behind my desk again for a year.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, but it's been nothing but goodness with Risk Innovations for the last 4 years. I can't imagine being anywhere else. So, yeah.
Well, they got you early and convinced you, so there's that. That being said, so is Lee's where is that the one that's up around Chattanooga?
Yeah, Cleveland,
Okay.
Tennessee. So it's
Cleveland,
between Chattanooga and Knoxville.
I know exactly where it is. May or may not have played baseball in that area at some point in my life.
Sure you did.
Talk about Risk Innovations, though. I mean, people probably, I don't know, maybe not. I feel like people know JenCap's name when they hear it, but maybe not Risk Innovations as much. How long's Risk Innovations been around? and talk a little bit about what it is specifically that y'all do.
Yeah, so this month Risk Innovations is celebrating its 20th anniversary. And then on 8/1 we'll rebrand to be JenCap. So changing our name on 8/1 to be JenCap. So, but Risk Innovations is the work comp segment of JenCap. We specialize in work comp. It's all that we do. We have over 65 markets that we write with. Our brokers have typically only worked in work comp. So we are true experts, and the services that we offer through our carriers and just the expertise that we have is honestly unmatched. There's a ton of brokers that do offer work comp, but not really any that specialize in it in the way that we do. We're hard to place work comp wholesaler, but that's not all we do.
But you're not limited to that, right? Like you're not
Yeah.
you're not on here saying, please send me all this stuff nobody else will take. I mean, you've got a loss ratio to manage as well. So I know that you'll write other things. And one of the things that agencies struggle with is getting carrier contracts and having varieties of carrier contracts. You guys are probably, I added 2 wholesalers in the last year, y'all and another one. And those are the only 2 wholesalers that I've added since I launched, honestly, with the original couple that I had back in 2016. So I know that agents, when they open their agency, the first thing is, well, I need carrier contracts. Then they're faced with the decision, do I go to an aggregator, market access? Do I work with a wholesale broker? What am I supposed to do? You actually make it really, really easy, because even though other wholesalers may offer workers' comp, I'm fairly certain they don't have 65 markets.
Yeah, and we just met with a couple more this morning, so we're pushing up on 70. But we do have a ton of agents that use us as market access. We have a huge footprint in Georgia, because that's where we started 20 years ago, was in Georgia. So our name around Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, Tennessee, very well known. The Midwest has been well known since 2012 when Jeff Sandy joined Bruce Peddle as a partner. So Midwest, Southeast, Risk Innovations is a huge presence. And, we have different types of agencies. They're not all, national agencies, but we do write with a ton of national agencies, and we write with a ton of, one-man agencies as well, just because they don't have the market access. We write with the bigger shops because we have the relationships to get deals done that they may not have. So, we can write anything from a $300 policy to a $10 million policy. There's just, the spread is so unreal, and we don't have a target agency per se. We write with just about anybody, and there's nobody that will turn down necessarily, just from a standpoint of we don't like that account. If we can write it, we're going to write it. So I say we're hard to place, and now I've sort of changed my tagline to historically we've branded ourselves as hard to place, but in a market this soft, there's not too much that is hard to place. We have all the markets where we can get competitive. I know you're in Florida where it's a rate state, but everywhere else, we have the ability to get our carriers to jump on credit because we do have that volume, that premium volume with them in the clout to get deals done. And they know that we know what we're talking about, and we're helping you sell it to the insured, all their services, and explain why rates look the way they do, why there's this debit, why there's a credit. We can get deals done throughout any hard to place, easy to place. Just if you need a deal, we'll do it.
Well, I think one of the things that you said that everybody should have had their ears perk up when you said it is the fact that the nationals use you because you have the relationship. And, I'm in Florida. Comp carriers are a dime a dozen here for the most part. I don't want to diminish that, but there's a lot of monoline comp carriers in Florida, and that's what they do. That being said, I don't have a book that's $10 million in premium with any single one of them. If you do, I like you better than I like me for going to the market with that carrier, because you can leverage that. You've got the relationship, you've gotten the results, in the past that proves that you are somebody who should be talking to this carrier on my behalf instead of me doing it. So I think that's a huge piece of this. Agents are bulletproof, producers are bulletproof, and I think one of the problems that agents have is that they're not going to come to somebody like you until they've exhausted all of their own resources first. That actually doesn't help them any. It puts them at more of a disadvantage, because many times you actually may have been able to get a deal done with a carrier that perhaps would have declined for that agent, because the agent doesn't have the deliverables or the experience necessary to make sure that account performs correctly. So it's kind of like one of those things. If it's something you feel is going to be hard to place, don't screw around going to a bunch of your carriers just to get declinations. Get it out the door as early as you can and let Risk Innovations figure it out, because they may be able to get deals done that you can't. It's going to be pretty rare that I have the ability to do something that Jeff Sandy can't get done. It's going to be pretty rare, if it's even possible. Because the guy's been doing nothing but for how long?
He's been doing nothing but for almost 30 years. So he has the experience to back it, and all the relationships that follow as well.
That's a lot of workers' comp.
A whole lot.
So here's my question for you. I asked John Mason this same question. He's a wholesaler, different than what you guys do. But I'm going to bring this up in Key West, and so I'm giving you a softball so you're not caught off guard. But one of the things that we're going to do is I want to have a panel of like three to four agents. I want a panel of the 3 or 4 wholesalers that are going to be there. Okay? And I'm going to ask the agents, what makes a good wholesaler to you? What is a good wholesaler? Define that. What are you looking for? Why am I asking that question? Because I want you guys to hear what agents are saying in a relaxed environment where they're going to be honest about it, right? They're going to be comfortable giving feedback. And if they're not, I'm going to push them to give feedback, because I'll know they're lying or not being forthright with me if they're not sharing. Then I'm going to flip the script, and I'm going to come to you guys and say, all right, wholesalers, what does a picture-perfect agency look like for you? Now, I understand that you guys want to write as much business as you can, but you and I both know there are agencies that do it right, and there are agencies that make the underwriters just want to pull their hair out. And so talk about that for a second. I mean, you talk with your underwriters, you talk with your leadership, the agencies that are really clicking on all cylinders, so that when the underwriter gets a submission from them, they're like, wow, yeah, here's another one. I know we're going to write this, or at least have a fighting chance because they've got a really good submission. What does that agency look like?
Well, we love complete submissions. You would be surprised at the number of submissions we get in that is a court app that is not even completed. So the amount of agents that I call on a monthly basis saying, these are the primary things we need on a Accord app. This is the bare minimum of what we need on an Accord 130. It's crazy. But, on the other hand, I have a ton of great agents that send in an Accord 130, 3 to 5 years of loss runs, a mod, a supplemental that they have filled out from another carrier. And that's from a submission standpoint. That is, or if they only have an Accord and they want us to reserve markets, they're saying, hey, I've got the loss runs on the way. I've got the mod. Here's my target premium. Let me know. If they have a specific carrier in mind that they want us to approach, and they already know that, hey, so-and-so has been hitting on this class code, and I want to see if you can get them to quote this for us. We love intel from outside the marketplace that we may just have not seen yet. Nuggets of wisdom like that. And then while we're working on an account, being responsive. The agents want the wholesaler to be responsive, but we're only as fast as the agent is. So the agent can't wait 2 to 3 weeks to respond to us and expect a quote that same day that they respond. It's a give and take. It's the mutual respect. And, our agents that we really excel with understand that you get what you give. And if you work with us, we'll work with you, and it'll be a better relationship. It's mutually beneficial that way. And, it's really just the relationship building aspect of it. And that's why I love what I do, is I get to go in and build those relationships to back up my brokers.
You have a really good job, like from what I can tell on the outside anyhow.
It is. I love it.
Well, it's like I tell people, when my kids would ask me when I was younger what I do for a living, I tell them I get paid to make friends. Like literally that's it, right? I just go hang out with people, make friends with them, and the next thing you know, they want to hire me. So I don't really, I really don't think it's any more complicated than that. Now there's some nuances to getting that done, but at the end of the day, like we're both pretty fortunate to be in the position that we're in.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about things that are unique to Risk Innovations or some tools. I know that one thing that you have the ability to do, I don't remember exactly who it's with, so I'll defer to you for that. But one of the things that we run into when we're dealing with workers' comp accounts is I get it from my payroll provider, and they automatically take my premiums out every month. So if I go and buy my workers' comp from you, how is that still going to happen? And you have vendor relationships that actually will take guaranteed cost comp policies and make them pay as you go, correct?
Yeah, so most of our carriers just offer the pay as you go with it. We don't have any vendor relations because all of ours is direct bill, but I would say 95% of our markets that we use prefer maybe even monthly self-reporting or weekly self-reporting. So, I mean, that's the option that we're trying to move to, especially when COVID hit and all of the, return premium audits started rolling in, or the companies were being afraid that they were going to start rolling in. They wanted to count it up before it actually got to that point. So we moved a ton of accounts, like every account over 50 grand, we tried to put on monthly self-reporting just so that nobody was surprised. It's some companies don't need to be on monthly self-reporting. If they don't have the background for it, they don't need to be on it. If they don't have anybody that can, in the office that does their payroll currently. But a lot of payroll companies, a lot of our carriers work with a ton of different payroll companies. So it's likely that the payroll company that they're with anyway can work directly with one of our markets.
Got it. Yeah, I may be confused. So we work with, for people who think that I'm just an absolute moron and don't know what I'm talking about now, we work with Reliable Premium Management in our agency, and there's another one called Smart Pay. I believe they're part of First Insurance Funding. And so I do know about this, people listening who think I don't, because 42% of the workers' compensation premium across the United States that's written with GUARD is written through ADP. And ADP will only administer the workers' comp premiums if they are the agent that is writing the workers' comp. Unless they're using RPM or Smart Pay or a service like that will take that GUARD policy and it will break it into pay as you go and administer those premium payments to the carrier, and ADP doesn't know any differently. So if you're out there prospecting against the payroll companies and that's an objection that you get, please know that there are services out there. The one we use at Florida Risk is RPM, Reliable Premium Management, and coincidentally, about 4 podcasts from this one, you are going to hear from them because I asked them to come on and we're going to interview them and talk about what they do. The next piece of pushback you're going to get at the point of sale is that, well, they're charging me $15 or whatever the cost is. Don't hold me to this. But they're going to complain about that. Guess what? The payroll company's charging them to do the same thing. You just have to peel back their billing statement and find where that charge is, but they're not administering workers' comp premiums for free. So that's where I was going with that for everybody in the audience that was trying to trip me up. I knew what I was saying. I just had the wrong person I was talking to, so excuse me for that. So let's talk about exclusive, like anything unique to you. What are some things that you're able to do that you guys have exclusivity on that other wholesalers in the work comp space don't have?
So we have access to probably 10 programs across the country. And while they're not exclusive, the footprint on it is exclusive. So we have a lot of them specific to the Southeast. We have a couple in the Northeast and in the Midwest, and out on the West Coast as well. But it's different programs. We can do a ton of healthcare. with carriers that you don't normally think would write healthcare. We can do a ton of staffing, construction, logging. We have programs for all those different avenues. On the other hand, something that's not really, it's exclusive to us. We have specific underwriters with carriers that we have, a huge chunk of premium with, and we have the clout with them. They've given us extended underwriting guidelines that they won't give their normal agents. If you were to go to if you think one of your direct markets is going to decline a risk, and you know that we have that market direct, odds are 5 times out of 10 I can get it done with the market that will decline it for you. So not that it's necessarily completely exclusive, but it is something that we get done just because of our premium volume and the clout that we have with our carriers.
So talk about the programs that you guys are seeing some success with. That's intriguing to me. If you have footprint in the Southeast, talk about that, because I think that there's a lot of things out there. There are a lot of businesses like last mile delivery right now, right? Let's just throw that one out there because that's one everybody thinks about. Everybody knows of an Amazon last mile delivery company that's popped up over the course of the last year, and that's a hot prospect in that area, and that's one that everybody's trying to get placed. I imagine you see a ton of them come in from agents who just can't get it done direct. But talk about what classes of business fit in those, because to me, even though it may not be exclusive, the fact that you have expertise in those areas just because of the volume you see by having that program makes you a much more valuable partner than just an average wholesaler that might take it to market.
Yeah, so the last mile delivery, the DSP, delivery service partners for Amazon, FedEx, you name it, those have blown up. They started taking off in 2018, and we wrote a ton of them, especially in the Atlanta area. There were a ton that popped up here, and we probably wrote a majority of the ones in Atlanta. A lot of the ones that have been around for a while have really high, ugly mods. Some of them have like 2.5 mods just because Amazon doesn't really have a program in place or at the beginning, they definitely didn't have a program in place for safety training that was strictly followed after. A lot of companies are jumping in now once they've gotten their feet on the ground and want to ride them with that high mod because they're getting the premium that they wouldn't have gotten prior to. So they're getting double the premium for the same risk. And, a lot of carriers are jumping in on that. We know that the new ones are going to probably perform poorly for a couple of years because they just learn. That's the way that they do. That's the nature of the beast on this. So the 7231 class code for just the last mile, we have probably 10 markets that'll quote those right now. New ventures, we probably have about 5. Distressed mods, all 10 of them will write it. So another caveat to that would be the distribution center to distribution center. So it's actually 7219 trucking, but we can get standard carriers to write that don't write trucking. We probably have 15 markets that'll do that, and we have a ton of markets that'll write trucking. But this is, sort of a local risk, but it still has those loss issues that the DSP has because there's no safety training in place. We write a ton of staffing. That's another program we have programs for that. We can do that nationally.
Oh, I'm very well versed in that one.
Yes, you are. But yours was a very generalist staffing risk. So we don't need something that's the same class code over and over again. We can get carriers to get after it. The more generalist it gets, obviously, the smaller our carrier list becomes. But the relationships that Jeff Sandy and Christy Tinker have, and Mindy Cox has, you haven't worked with Mindy, she's not your broker, but the relationship that they have with all of these markets to get deals done is unreal. Like I said earlier, the perk of working with a specialist is we know how to sell the risk. We know what the carriers want to hear. We know what the insured needs to do. And we'll get the deals done for you. We sell it. We help you sell the risk. We're not going to ever just make you sound incompetent to our carrier. We're going to coach you through it and figure out what's the best way to, how to ask questions, what the carriers need to know. And then we'll talk to our carrier and convince them why they should write the risk, why we think it's good.
Yeah, I mean, I don't understand why anybody wouldn't be doing business with you, to be honest with you, because I see so much out there that's just completely screwed up that it's like maybe you should just call a pro. So, that's kind of where my head is. So, you guys are going to rebrand. What does that mean for those of us that are already doing business with you? Do we now have access to the grander marketplace that JenCap has to offer? Do you want to talk about that for a little bit?
Yeah, so currently anybody that's contracted with us is contracted with JenCap. You can work with JenCap. But, JenCap is started 6 years ago, and we keep purchasing wholesalers that fit within our box. And we only work with the best of the best. And we're slowly but surely adding them into 3 different segments right now. We have JenCap Insurance Services, JenCap Specialty, and JenCap Programs. Risk Innovations will fall under JenCap Insurance Services. And it'll be, the Wholesale Binding Authority group. But if you need contacts for any other line of business, I can get you there. But it's just going to streamline the process more. Nothing will change with Risk Innovations. It's going to be the same team. If anything, we'll expand and add more, and it'll allow us to add more markets because the name does carry more weight. JenCap is the 4th largest wholesaler in the country, and we're still growing. We have huge goals, and we plan to meet them like we have every year prior. So it's great opportunity for us heading forward. It's great opportunity for the agents that use us. And I'm just looking forward to where it's heading, and all of our agents should be so excited to be on board.
Look, I would not recognize John Ware if he walked by me on the street, but I bet you I've referred 20 people to him over the course. I literally just referred somebody to him 10 minutes ago, while we were recording this, because somebody was asking for who a good wholesale broker is that has the ability to write standalone hired and non-owned auto. Every time I've ever seen anybody ask that, that's the name that pops up. So I just started referring him too.
Yeah, no, he is killer at what he does, and he has the pen for hired non-owned auto, and I haven't seen him falter on a deal. He's gotten every one done that I've sent to him. I literally just sent him 2 deals today as well. So it's obviously needed, and I think he's the best in the country for it.
I'll be interested to see as you do the rebrand, and a lot of this may be going on internally already, and we just don't see it because we're not there behind the scenes. But I've got to believe that you guys are going to have the ability to really build your own book by communicating internally about what opportunities you're seeing. Like, for example, if you see, a last mile delivery account on the workers' comp, be good if the auto broker knew that, the GL broker knew that, the umbrella broker knew that, so that they could at least reach out to that agent and see if they could help them with the other lines on those deals. I mean, I don't see how that's a bad deal any way you look at it. I think you only get stronger.
Yeah, so Risk Innovations became a part of JenCap 3.5 years ago, and since before we sold, Genesee General sat in Alpharetta. They're now a part of JenCap Insurance Services, and we were already referring business back and forth. And so now it's just become more streamlined, and in the last 3.5 years, we've referred a ton of business back and forth to each other. And now there's so many options throughout the country of different segments, people who specialize in different lines that we can send accounts to. And I'm not gonna, if you send me an Accord 125, I'm not just gonna ship it off to JenCap, but I will ask you, hey, do you need help with the other lines? We have other brokers that specialize in this. I'd love to send it off. And 9 times out of 10 they're gonna say yeah, or they're gonna say I've already sent it over there. But it's gonna become more of a streamlined process, I do think, and it'll give us the ability to round out more accounts and make the process a little bit smoother for all lines of coverage.
So I'm going to need you to come clean with me because I'm pretty quick on my feet, and it's not lost on me that you started 4 years ago, and 3.5 years ago Risk Innovations became part of JenCap officially. Did they hire you to broker that deal?
I didn't even know what it meant when we were selling. A couple of people in the office were like, "Oh no, we're selling," and I was like, "Is that not a normal thing that happens?"
Yeah, is that bad? Do I need to be concerned for
Do
my
I need to be
job that I
concerned for
just
my
got?
job? What's going on here? But literally nothing changed internally for us. The only thing that changed is Bruce Peddle, who was a partner in Risk Innovations, became the president of JenCap Insurance Services. So that's the only thing that's changed in our day to day. Everything else has been, the same, except for we've been able to add new carriers on and get new programs just because we had the JenCap name associated with us. So all good things.
Sweet. So what have we missed?
What have we missed? I'm not sure. I feel like we've covered a lot of the bases.
I feel like you need to get a stronger presence in Florida, because every time I see you, you're doing something in Georgia, and it's no wonder that the name is so well known there. I mean, it's obvious that you're heavily involved with the Big I in Georgia. You just wrapped up another conference for them, and I'm going to do my part to tell all my friends about it. I mean, you're talking to 20,000 agents across the country right now, so this is your chance, Carrie. Put the hard clothes on them. How do they reach out to you to get the process started with Risk Innovations? And I'm going to tell you, for those, and Carrie doesn't know this, but if you want more information, I'm going to have a copy of this podcast. I'm also going to have some other materials that we will have taken content from over the weekend in Key West. In addition to, I'm going to bring Risk Innovations into a private call for the Killing Commercial community, but we are going to have killingcommercial.com/Risk Innovations, and you will be able to go to the Killing Commercial website and learn everything you can, and I will make sure that I link to the appropriate place, and there'll even be a button that says contact Carrie, and it'll send an email directly to her if you're interested in getting set up. But I always have the greatest ideas, and then I tell Mr. Lefevre to make sure they get done. So I don't even know what his backlog is right now, but I'm sure it's severe because I have just been dumping on him all day long today. So in the interim, how do they get a hold of you to talk about what it would look like to have a relationship with JenCap and Risk Innovations?
Yeah, so you can give me a call anytime. I have my phone in my hand 90% of my life. 706-979-4404. You can hit me on LinkedIn. I'm very active there as well. Just Carrie Cheeks. And then you can email me at Carrie.Cheeks@riskinnovations.com. And if I don't respond within 24 hours to one method, it may have gone to my junk, or you may have shown up as a spam caller. So call me or email me again, or hit me on LinkedIn, because I try to turn around calls and messages as quickly as possible. So
I can
I'm not ignoring
100%
you.
vouch. Yeah, I can 100% vouch for that. We have an issue with our email getting gobbled up by Office 365, and if I don't hear from, I don't even give her 24 hours. That's how fast she is when I know she got something. So if a couple of hours go by and I've not heard from her, I'll go over to LinkedIn and say, hey, check your spam filter. I sent you something a couple of hours ago. And she's probably saying, holy cow, man, I'm at a golf tournament right now, working with the Big I at Georgia. Can you give me a little bit of time? And the answer is no, I can't. I really needed an answer to this 2 hours ago. And then she goes and finds it, right? So obviously I'm kidding tongue in cheek. You're going to really have a hard time finding anybody in any wholesaler that's more responsive than what Carrie is. And I'm not saying that just because she's sitting here. I'm being dead serious. I told my wife, I feel like they have robots managing social media at Risk Innovations because she is on it. She understands how to have a social presence. She understands how to build relationships at the agency level. We're very fortunate that we were able to connect with Risk Innovations. I know that it's going to be a great partnership for Florida Risk Partners as we continue to build that book of business with you guys. It's opened the door for me to write business that I understand and know how to write, but I typically wouldn't in the agency, like staffing, just because I understand that markets are the markets and you either have them or you don't, and I'm not interested in going to get them because I don't want to have to feed them. But we've also turned away a lot of that business in the last 6 years. So I'm glad to know we have a place that we can write it now. And I certainly know how to deliver the value-added stuff to it in the long run. So if you are looking to grow your business, if you want to lead with comp and you don't have the markets, or if you just don't write enough comp that you need to go and get your own wholesaler or your own carrier appointments, Carrie.Cheeks@riskinnovations.com or on LinkedIn, and I can assure you your workers' comp needs will be met. I'm going to wrap it up. I don't really have anything else to add. I think you did a great job of giving everybody the 10,000-foot overview, and the next podcast is going to be about all the stories that we create over the next 4 days in Key West, which I'm sure there will be many. So look forward to seeing you down there. Travel safe, and thanks for your time today. Really appreciate you joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
You've been listening to the Power Producers Podcast. You can follow Killing Commercial Insurance on Facebook and YouTube. And if you want to take your game to the next level, check out our book, The Extra 2 Minutes, and our website, killingcommercial.com.